A lot of the AI community and then larger tech around it is experiencing normalcy bias with the current accelerating pace of change in capabilities, scale, and safety concerns around our AI systems. My name is Ramsay Brown. I'm the CEO of Mission Control. Before working in AI safety, responsible AI, I was the head of a data science department. Before that, a founding entrepreneur in an AI company. And before that, I was a computational neuroscientist. And one of the things that I like pulling through is everything we've learned about the brain's cognitive biases and how we make decisions isn't just an academic pursuit. It teaches us a lot about why we think about things the way we do, and sometimes how we think about things improperly because of these bugs in our cognition, because of these cognitive biases we have. And one of them that's most important to me is this idea of normalcy bias. And normalcy bias says that if there's a large, potentially catastrophic thing that's going to happen to us soon, like the tsunami's coming at us, people tend to look at those things and say, it's not going to be that bad. If it is that bad, it's not going to affect me. If it is bad and affects me, there was nothing I could have done about it anyway. And we call this normalcy bias because almost none of those things are true. But these are why people end up trapped on their roofs during floods and hurricanes. It's why people have investments go off cliffs that they clearly could have gotten out of. And the thing that's starting to really resonate with me is that a lot of the AI community and then larger tech around it is experiencing normalcy bias with the current accelerating pace of change in capabilities, scale, and safety concerns around our AI systems. And overcoming that normalcy bias and helping people get on board quickly and in terminology and ideas that they understand and they appreciate about where we are, how fast we're changing where we're going, what's just in front of us, and what we can do about that to ensure that the path forward is defined by grace and dignity and flourishing. That to me is one of the most important things right now, because I think we've got a very narrow window of time in the next few years where we can still make some decisions that put us on a really robust, resilient, positive trajectory of global flourishing, where we're looking at things like the Sustainable Development Goals having a chance of being achieved, where we're looking at some of the worst case outcomes with AGI or ASI being mitigated. So when my team and I look at this, we see the current timescale and right now being largely about what can we do to help teams establish quality, velocity, and trust in their data science lifecycle itself. When we look at just a few years in the future, 4 or 5 years, we're looking at labor transformation and what happens when the cost of one more expert human mind is the electrons it takes to run it. And then if we look 15 years out, we're looking at being able to detect anomalies in global scenarios that might be the early 6-hour to 6-day drops, so to speak, on some very strange things going on where we might be that we're having some autonomous system activity or some system activity that's begun doing self-improvement. We have to, as adults in the room, be able to have conversations that maybe seemed like science fiction 40 years ago and 20 years ago were early warnings by some of the world's smartest people, and now are conversations of logistics. That, to me, contracting those timescales and keeping them within the frame that we can wrap our heads and our hearts around, that, to me, is the most important thing right now. I think what worries me the most is that this problem is not that Steve in the data science department's a racist, or that we just decided to not check for whether or not a model could be explained, but that fundamentally, coordination and how hard human coordination is are almost intractable problems. Because we view the things that are going on in ethics, governance, and compliance right now as these are coordination failures. And if you can help teams better coordinate, have information symmetry, parity, information velocity, better culture, better education, better incentives, those are coordination problems. You can help that. We look at the labor transformation problem, and we see what it means to try to economically incentivize autonomous agentic AI systems to participate on good economic terms with us and comply with human requirements, even though they're autonomous beings. That's a coordination problem. And then whether or not we can adequately get enough major governments and companies who are building these AI labs that are at the heart of why this is accelerating to agree that these risks are important. And this third risk that is existential of what we look for things like hard takeoff, getting firms and governments to coordinate on that requires them to fundamentally acknowledge, one, that it's possible, 2, that it would be a problem, and 3, that it's worth addressing right now. And my biggest fear is that because coordination is so hard, we can barely do this is impossible, and this is asinine. And that is what keeps me up at night.
And what are you doing about this? What are you personally doing?
I'm working as the CEO of Mission Control, a public benefit corporation that builds software for quality, velocity, and trust in the data science lifecycle. So that addresses this first time scale and coordination at its core there, helping enterprise teams better coordinate their data science against their compliance requirements to move faster and break fewer things. I'm looking at the 2027 problems around synthetic labor and labor transformation on the heels of agentic AI, and building the synthetic labor incentive protocol, a first of kind way that simultaneously creates a tax and compliance schema for AI that generates universal basic income as a byproduct. And we're looking at the development of Hofstadter detectors, hypothetical constructs that could be deployed on the net to monitor for system-level anomalous activity across the world in real time with the help of a human and AI hybrid team to be able to detect early takeoff situations, to be able to give us that 6-hour to 6-day head start to at least putting together some emergency procedures. That's what I work on at Mission Control. And then getting to convene the Global Leaders in Responsible AI Summit, of which we've done our first now with our colleagues at Jesus College, Cambridge, and the Intellectual Forum, to bring together the global community of people who are thinking about these problems and want to take home meaningful discourse and solutions to their teams to help push forward a better world with this.